We are back. The marching arts community is currently mourning the loss since learning about the death of Bruno Zuccala. Bruno touched the lives of a lot of different performers, staff members, administrators, adjudicators all around the marching arts. Today, we have read in the DCI page, it actually talked about Bruno Zuccala and all of the mentorship that he had basically given to a bunch of different performers and staff members around the way. Basically, just talking about him so much. On the website, they also have the Hall of Fame speech that he did, as well as the 1995 DCI broadcast that he did explaining the Cavaliers and their color guard and what needs to be done to have a good color guard on PBS. So with our panel today, I know that a lot of you have all had some kind of personal, recollection to Bruno. I mean, whoever wants to go first can tell you, but let us know what you knew about him and how he touched your life.
I'll jump in. So I love that you mentioned that 95 video because I know there are a lot of people in this world that they're in our generation, people born in the 1900s, that got their first inkling of what DCI was from watching that PBS broadcast and recorded every year VHS, every DCI broadcast. And literally every day when I would get home from school, I would pop on videos of shows and I would go outside of my yard and I would try to figure out people's shows and choreography from the shows from what I saw there. And I remember in 95 when that segment with Bruno came on and I was like, oh my God, who is this man? And he is talking about this stuff that's awesome. And I now want to be a Cavalier. And so I went outside and I practiced my rifle technique to make sure that I had my catches solid like Bruno talked about. And then I also learned the saber choreography that's happening in the background. So I learned it every day. And so when I did eventually go and audition for Cavaliers, I told Bruno that I watched that video like every day for years. And then I told him I knew that saber choreography. And he was like, oh yeah, well then show it to me. And so I did. And that's how I made the saber line. It's because I did that choreography, count for count, back in the day. But, I know Ryan's going to talk about this too, but it's to be taught by Bruno is like this wonderful, portion of my life that I am so happy that I got to do because he truly was like the person that really taught me how to be a teacher. Like I had other instructors and no tea, no shade to all the rest of the instructors that taught me that are listen to this podcast, no tea, no shade. But Bruno had this way of teaching you and getting you to want to push yourself, but never doing it in a mean-spirited way and always leading with love and always knowing when you were at a breaking point and what to do to get you over that breaking point. And I just he became my model. He was my role model for how I wanted to be as a teacher. And I hope that he is looking down from now on and going to guide me through the rest of my time doing this because he was just such an inspiration. I mean, even from the moments of Ryan, you'll remember this, when he would teach, he would clean across the floors. He would do this thing with his fingers, his little gun hands. He would do it. And he was his arms would do this. Nothing like what the actual choreography was. His arms would just do this. And he knew it was completely ridiculous. And so he just kept doing it anyway. And he would over exaggerate it because he knew we were all having a chuckle about it. And that was the thing about him. He wasn't one of those people that took himself so seriously that he was offended by the fact that we were having a good chuckle behind it. He leaned into it. He let in and let us know that he was also a part of the joke. So, and there's not many people that can do that and do that well. So I'm going to miss that man. I'm going to miss that man. It was a hard night, the night that news broke through, because he had just posted a few hours earlier on Facebook and I just liked the post from him. And so then that news popping through, it sent me back. And it sent me back to a place, and it started off with tears being sad, but then I also started thinking about all of the things I learned and how great of a time that was in my life. And how every time since then I've seen him, he's always, come and give me a big hug and ask me how I was doing and, all of that stuff. So like I said in my little Facebook tribute to him, like, when you're one of his boys, you were one of his boys forever. He was always going to be there. So
wow.
I'll stop ranting on whatever.
Well, that was beautiful, though. I mean, like, you and Ryan both marched together at Cavaliers, which is where Bruno spent a good majority of his time. But Ryan, you also have stories that you can share with us about Bruno, too.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where I remember when I started Color Guard and a mutual instructor that Trish and I had when I was like, I got to go somewhere. I'm like, I want to go to the Cavaliers. She goes, good. Stop having to dance with all the girls and go spin like a boy. Like, go to the Cavaliers. Go do what you gotta do. Like, go spin the way you want to. So, I mean, I had instant blessing. But like Ricardo, like Cavaliers is somebody that was somewhere I wanted to go for so long. It was one of those things I remember seeing them. It was specifically in 1994. I'm like, if I do this, I want to do that. And then I saw who he was in 95. And he was at rockstar status for me because he got performers to look the way I wanted to look. And I remember getting to camp, I was a nervous wreck because I'm like, this is what I really wanted. This is where I really wanted. This is how I want things to turn out. And I was so nervous of him. And then when they were telling us who got spots, I just remember him saying, I don't care if you graduate at the end of June. You need to be here. You belong here. You need to be in this color guard and we'll do what we have to do. And at that point, it's like, if Bruno says anything to me, I'm doing it. Like, from that point on, like, I just instantly trusted him because he gave me, I was so nervous about being there. And I mean, I traveled halfway across the country on my own, knowing nobody. And he just instantly took me in. And one of the biggest things that I always recognize is that he was our father when we didn't have our fathers on tour with us. Mm-hmm. He looked out for us. If we needed stuff, I know specifically he would tell me stories when he was at Cadets where if the color guard had to do something, I know he probably did this at Cavaliers, but they usually were good about getting us to like laundry days. But they had a laundry day one night and he just said, here's my credit card. I talked to the kids. We need this many toothbrush. We need toothpaste. We need this. We need this. We need this. Go take care of it and get it for the kids. And he would just do that because if we weren't taking care of ourselves, there was no way we were going to do the job we needed to do. So he always, always, always made sure to take care of us. And I was lucky to have 4 years with him as a performer. I was even luckier because 2 other organizations I've taught, Spartans and St. Brendan's, he came out and taught there. So I really liked the fact that I got to see the other side because we don't really get to see when I was a performer, I never got to see behind the curtain. I didn't see what Bruno was like when he wasn't on the field or when he wasn't worried about rehearsals. And the one thing I will always recognize as a performer is that the man never had no energy. He matched us every single day. He was on the field with us. He didn't go up in the press box. He didn't just stand on the sideline and bark orders. He was on the field with us. And some days, if we weren't doing so hot, he was chasing us. So, he never let down on that energy. But then it was incredible because then teaching with him, we would get done with rehearsal and he would just be completely exhausted. Like, he put so much of himself into every single thing he did. And that's why every color guard he had a hand was great. And I am a high school English teacher. I'm an adjunct professor. I'm, back in school, whatever. But I'm capable of doing all of those things because of he gave me something to emulate to be successful in all of that I wanted to do. He, I went and read the textbooks and did all the work when I was in college. But it was the 4 years at Cavaliers while I was in college where I got to see what a good educator looked like, what it looked like when you're an all-rap father, a friend, and a giver of knowledge. And he did that better than anybody that I ever know. And again, like Ricardo, respect to everybody else. I love everybody who's ever taught me. But when it comes to putting those 3 things together, Nobody ever did it better than him. And that's why every single person who's gone through a Bruno Zuccala color guard is 100% loyal to him. And I hope I can be half the educator he is. We'll see. But that would even be a remarkable level of a teacher to even
a tenth of the level would be a remarkable teacher.
It's funny, just coincidentally funny, the way that you speak about Bruno, because it's just like, well, I never met Bruno, but I was thinking to myself, like, that's the kind of teacher when I taught that I wanted to be. You know what I mean? Like, if I could not, give you every tip and trick in the book, maybe your work ethic or something like that to give you a little push in that way would be remembered so that you could do those other things. But I think that's great that you both had those memories of him. Were you taught by Bruno, Trish?
No, I wasn't. And I only really kind of know him through the activity in passing. I remember when he added me as a friend on Facebook, I was like, Bruno Zuccala's wants to be my friend. Like, that's very cool. And I was like, how does he even know me, And just, I've heard stories and read stories. I through you guys with the Cavaliers, but a lot of people in this area and the activity in this area were students of him at the cadets. And I've just heard so many stories about how amazing he was and caring he was. And, we were hopeful to try to get somebody who learned from him at the cadets on, but it just didn't work out for tonight. But there were, a lot of people who did reach out and say, I can't make it, but I really wish I could speak about, how amazing he was. And just, it's a big loss for the activity. It really is.
Yeah. When I opened up my Facebook, there were so many heartfelt tributes to him over and over again. I just went down a rabbit hole and read a bunch of them. And, it's a degree of separation, from me to Bruno Zuccala. So again, seeing him in passing, but hearing these stories just makes, to me, him more real. Like, I have met him. So I know their family is really touched by that. Whitney, can you tell us about?
I actually am kind of the same boat as you and Trish. Mm-hmm. I only know him in passing, but I feel like he taught me because everybody that taught me at Pride and Crown were taught by him. So I feel like I'm his long lost granddaughter kind of thing, all of my color guard parents were taught by him, and a lot of people I marched with were taught by him. So I just know him in that way, but I don't have a direct connection marching under him or anything. So I just have heard a lot of stories, and like you, my Facebook has just been filled with Bruno tributes and pictures. Oh my gosh, I love all the pictures from the 90s.
They did such a good job with finding pictures of him.
Yeah.
The different times.
Just everybody, Michael Gaines pictures, he had a bunch, and I think Andy Toth's post, and there are just so many pictures from the 90s, and I'm like, you guys uploaded all these, you had to scan these.
Yeah.
So I looked him up on YouTube in preparation for this episode, and I found Ryan. I'm not sure if you were in it, but I found some technique videos that he made.
Yeah.
And there's Ryan Bronner at a right flat.
Yeah.
Flat. But they were really, really cool. Things that I'm so glad that that's there forever on YouTube that we could share with our kids. Look at this technique video.
Yeah.
And it was really, really cool. He went through the parts of the leg, where your hand needs to be, and just really, really cool. So anybody wants to check out those YouTube videos, really cool.
Yeah, if we can find some of those links, maybe we'll put them in the caption.
So yeah.
That's cool. I love this time that we can do this. Let everyone share their stories and laugh a little, and, be glad that you were in the presence of someone who was so influential,
For sure.
I'll tell a fun story before we part this. And Ryan, you will remember this day, and you're going to crack up when you remember this story. So we were somewhere in a cornfield, somewhere in Illinois, learning 4 corners, and we were working corner number 3. And we had learned there was like this section that there was a group of us that had spun saber, and we were supposed to be rifles, but then at the last minute they decided that we weren't going to be rifles, that we were going to be this like featured flag line group. And so Adam taught this flag choreography, and then he just sort of like walked away. And so we were all trying to figure it out, as we did back then. We didn't ask questions, we were just doing it. So we're in rehearsal, and it's like we're trying to get through this stuff, and Adam's like, Ricardo, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I'm just trying to make the flag go around. And Adam has like a whole temper tantrum. Sorry, Adam, throwing you under the bus. Adam has a whole temper tantrum. And I just grab my flag. I walk off the field. I walk into the gym. I start throwing my stuff in my suitcase. And Bruno just walks in the gym and he goes, hey, Pumpkin, you okay? And I'm like, I believe it. And he's like, no. Come with me. And he takes me and he puts me in the van, drives me down the street to Dairy Queen, buys me an ice cream cone. It just says, you want to talk about it? And I just let it all out and I start crying. And he goes, you're not going home. You're too good to go home. It's fine. You'll be okay. You'll figure this flag work out. We'll get it tomorrow. And that's how I stayed.
Wow.
That's how I stayed. He took me in, literally took me from rehearsal and bought me an ice cream cone.
That's so cute.
Yeah.
That is cute.
That's it. But I mean, and that's like one of a billion stories that anybody that like marched in that era of him could tell you about him. It's those little things that like, when we talk about like someone being dad, like he really was dad.
Wow. Oh, these are such good stories. Thank you all for sharing those with us. We are going to take a break, and then we come back. We have the 60-second tech block.